Welcome to the Sonic Shaman Show, home of the Coffee Connect and Conscious Connections. The show is dedicated to empowering you to perceive, know, be, and express your unique voice in this world without the fear of judgment of others through healing, coaching, and educational services. In each episode, Hank and his guests offer tools, techniques, and inspiration to help you step into your potency. Now, here is your host, Hank Settela.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. It's been so long since I've actually done a stream on my own, and I was just so inspired today from numerous conversations yesterday that just showed how polarized and disunified the world is right now. And I'm not talking about anything in particular, but you all know that we have a lot of things in the politics, a lot of things about health, a lot of things about everything where we're so polarized. And one of my partners yesterday said, well, what is the real problem here? And I said, the problem is that we're using the illusions for a purpose of which they're not intended. The 10 illusions, and we're only going to be really talking about one today. Well, kind of two, because one was the inspiration of, disunity, but we're going to go in order of the book. But the purpose of the illusions is for us to have a contextual experience. In the absence of that which you are not, that which you are is not, right? And if oneness is all there is, it can't know itself experientially. We have to have the illusion of separation in order for us to have the opposites there, to have the polarities or the positive and negative, the good and the bad, the right and the wrong, the perception of it anyway, even though it's all, just labeling. We have to have the perception of that in order for us to know experientially who and what we are. And that's what the purpose of all this is. And what happens though, is when we really get caught up with the illusion and forget, hey, this is all to create contrast so I can perceive, know, be, receive, and express who I am in this world. And we get caught up in the play, we get caught up in the story, we get caught up in the trauma, we get caught up in the drama. We have a lot less fun doing what we came here to do. And so that's what my inspiration was. And so my thought was, the reason that humanity is in such a state right now, we have so much disunity and so much arguing and so much polarity, especially about really controversial, quote unquote, issues, is because we've lost sight that we're one. We've lost sight that, despite the illusion, it's kind of like namaste. And if you don't know the concept of namaste, it means, may the God in me greet the God in thee for the highest good. And if you can really look at you are one with everyone, we move from the kingdom of me to the kingdom of we. And then you move from relationship with everything and everyone, which is a recognition of separation, into creationship with everyone, which is a recognition that we are all one. We are all one. We're also all separate, but we're all one. It's like waves in the ocean. Each of us is an individualization. We have our own stream of consciousness. We have our own expression and our own attributes and our own everything. You rise up out of the ocean, you go back into the ocean, we're all the ocean, even though we're these separate individualizations of divinity. I like the water balloon analogy as well. Well, not water balloon, but water drop analogy. You are a drop of the ocean. The ego is the skin of the water balloon that keeps you separate. It is the thing that allows you to have the individualization. It's part of the thing that allows the illusion of separation to occur. Call it stream of consciousness, call it soul, call it monad, depending on what school of thought you have learned from esoteric knowledge and things. There's different names for all these things, but whatever works for you. Because language is the feeble attempt to put words of the isness to the allness. So we start getting caught up in vocabulary, then you're listening to me to a point, and then I use one word that you don't know, that you don't agree with. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm out. In fact, someone just dropped off the stream as I said that. How ironic, right? But truly, how often has that happened? My friend Param, and this is a great thing. Everybody out there that's watching me right now, this is an inspiration from my dear friend Param, who teaches this wonderful workshop called Why Life Sucks, a global voyage to overcome the misery of everyday living. But I want you to slam your hand on the table or wherever you're at on the bed on your lap and point your finger at me and say, Hank, you don't know your ass from a hole in the ground. Seriously, do it. Okay, so you slam your hand on the table, you point your finger at the screen and say, Hank, you can even type it in the comments, Hank, you don't know your ass from the hole in the ground. And the reason he does that is he teaches such controversial things that he says, well, now that you've said this, once I've run into something, if I say something that you don't agree with, you've already come to the awareness that I don't know my ass from a hole in the ground anyway. And you can get over the one thing that you don't agree with and listen to the next thing that just might be relevant for you. And that's what my real point is that we want to be in a space of allowance and recognizing that take the best, leave the rest. What I say may or may not resonate with you all the time, but what if you got the energy underneath it? Because chances are, even my dear friend Brian on the path, we have very different points of view about how reality shows up. But when we start really getting into our belief systems and our points of view and our vocabulary, we find out that we're much closer to being on the same page than we think. We just call things by different names. And that's a lot of the ways with these esoteric works or new age works, whatever you want to call it. It's a lot of the same data presented in a different way. And what if what I'm saying, all you got is tweak a word and like you got it and you're golden. So the first illusion that prompted this whole thing is the idea of disunity. We are all one. And know that the greatest truths are paradoxes. So though we're all one, we're also all separate, right? So how does it work in the separation and the duality? Opposites attract. But if you can really be in the world but not of it, how does it work? Like attracts like. If you're manifesting your life from the place of opposites, where opposites attract, the opposite always shows up in your perceived reality first. Hey, universe, I want to be rich. Oh, guess what? First you experience poor. But if you can really understand that, hey, I'm in the world but not of it, like attracts like, and you come from the space of being abundant, now you just create abundance and the opposite doesn't have to show up. So know that this is like a kind of a weird paradigm that the rules of the game, if you will, they work one way depending on what space you're holding and another way depending on the space that you're holding. So that's just one example of many. But today's first illusion is the illusion of need. And need only exists if you have a judgment of a particular result. Like, I need this. Well, that you only need that if you have a particular result. I want to read a few little excerpts from this book. And it's, well, also, as an infinite being, is there anything that you truly need? Everything is possible. Sometimes we get caught up with how something shows up instead of realizing that we just need to put out that it shows up. And out of the infinite number of ways that the universe could deliver you that one thing you think you need, well, what if there was an infinite number of ways for that to show up and you just handcuffed the universe by having a judgment of that? So need only exists if you believe that a certain outcome needs to occur. But what if there is no requirement for any of that? What if it's just pure choice and you get to choose who you're going to be based on the life and what unfolds around you? But a couple of really big things that I really love from this book. I'm going to read a couple of these. Here's the great secret. Happiness is not created as a result of certain conditions. Certain conditions are created as a result of happiness. I actually read this like 10 times to my son this morning. I'm like, I really just listen to this and really take it in, especially with kids. Oh man, like if they anchor stuff like this, like what kind of life could they be creating? Because they're so malleable right now until we fuck them up, right? And family, there's an acronym for that. Fucked up and mainly interested in limiting you. And we don't do it intentionally. We're just raising our kids how we were raised and how we have been modeled to and things. But how many times do we stick somebody with the point of view that now starts to create their reality? Because they totally trust us as, you know, their sole source of information. And then we give them information that maybe doesn't help them create the best ways. But anyway, let me read this again. Happiness is not created as a result of certain conditions. Certain conditions are created as a result of happiness. I'm going to read it again because it's this important. Happiness is not created as a result of certain conditions. Certain conditions are created as a result of happiness. Because every time you look to create something, because you need something outside of yourself, you'll never be whole because that state of being comes from within. And Neale would say that, you know, if you all of a sudden lose something and it affects your state of being, that's actually an addiction. It's like when you go to the ice cream shop and you have your heart set on chocolate. I know you have a whole bunch of chocolate lovers out there, right? You have your heart set on chocolate. You get to the ice cream shop, you go there, they're like, I'm sorry, we're all out of chocolate today. Now, a normal person in allowance might say, cool, vanilla's cool, or whatever flavor, or whatever the case is, or, oh my gosh, the ice cream shop burned down, I'm just going to go pick something else. You know, instead of your day being ruined, you just choose differently. But with the addiction, if you're locked in polarity, it's like, oh my gosh, how could you possibly be out of chocolate, you idiot? Everybody loves chocolate so much. And like, you've seen these people, they call them Karens on TikTok or on these things where they go on these rants, and they were so dependent on this external thing that it affects their state of being. So beingness comes first, doing or the experience that the universe brings you to express that being comes second. And it goes through, and there, you can use this for any state of being. Love is not created as a result of certain conditions. Certain conditions are created as a result of love. Compassion is not created as a result of certain conditions. Certain conditions are created as a result of compassion. Abundance, here's a big one. We'll read this twice at least. Abundance is not created as a result of certain conditions. Certain conditions are created as a result of abundance. Like attracts like in monality, meaning that whatever your state of being is, those are the experiences that you're creating. Now, what if you are in a space where you don't feel abundant because of whatever's going on? I would tell people, well, go seek out the opposite. If you really don't think you're abundant, why not go volunteer at a soup kitchen or volunteer at a homeless shelter? Volunteer in a place where all of a sudden it's going to twist your point of view and shift your point of view because, wow, really, maybe you have a lot. And if you look at what other people are experiencing, maybe it's going to be enough to shift you for you to start feeling way more abundant than you did the day before. And guess what? Your experience hasn't changed, but you have shifted your state of being. And so instead of attracting here, now you're going to be attracting here. So if you have like a situation like that, or put in any other state of being that you like, is there anything that you can do to create the opposite, to give you the context so that then you realize how much more you really have and can start attracting at that level? Because like attracts like. There's tools in access consciousness that are really useful for this too. So everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive the abundance that you can truly be, or the state of being that you truly be, destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. What energy, space, consciousness, and choice could your body, being, and beyond be to be the invitation for the unlimited contribution of the universe and the unseen forces around you with total ease? Just let that energy come up. I'm going to try to say it again the same way. I'm going to just allow the energy to come up, because this is about energy. It's not about the words. Don't try to figure out what I'm saying, because I talk fast with these things on purpose, because you don't want the brain to think about it. If you let the brain think about it, then you muck it up. So what energy, space, consciousness, and choice could your body, being, and beyond be to be the invitation to be able to receive from the infinite universe and unseen world around you? Allow that energy to come up. And now listen to this part. Everything that doesn't allow that, are you willing to destroy and uncreate it and have a change and a shift? Yes. I hope you say yes. I hope you're willing to get rid of all the stuff that doesn't allow you to identify that energy and step into it. And then right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And that's this clearing statement from Access Consciousness. On my website, hanksettle.com/clearing statement, I have like a blurb that explains it more, because I won't go into it here. But the idea is that we identify the energy that we're stepping into, we're identifying the energy that's not allowing that, and we blow this one out of the water so we can step into this one more easily. And here's another one to go along with this, because this is for all the points of view that we are accidentally stuck with from a society and our parents and our friends and whoever else. Every place that you've aligned and agreed with, or resisted or reacted to, other people's points of view, judgments, considerations, definitions, and conclusions, especially about who you should be in the world, destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Because they say in astrology, the first 28 years is you being programmed. The next 28 years is you unprogramming yourself. And the next 28 years is you actually being you. But what if all that could be fast tracked? Because my first astrology teacher, what really started getting me into this, he was the original owner of Delphic Books. I went there for a talk, and he described astrology as the autopilot of the universe. And we're like the puppets. We're like Pinocchio, right? And we're just moving with the strings unconsciously. But once you become conscious, there's no strings to hold you down. You don't have to go with those flows. So the more conscious you are, love this quote, more conscious you are, the less astrology matters, but it never doesn't matter. So what would it take for you to be completely awake, aware, and conscious, and choose through life instead of reacting through life, and really fast track the infinite you came to be? And everything that doesn't allow that, destroy it and create it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Cool. At this point, I'll open it up for questions if anybody has any questions. And if not, we'll just kind of wrap. And I saw from the beginning, we had Radiant Reiki tuning in on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in. We had Carol saying, thank you, Hank. You're very welcome. We had Jane saying, great talk, Hank. I really appreciate you coming on and on doing that. We had all kinds of people liking the stream and all that good stuff. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I'm so glad people like still actually watch me after I like totally like ghosted you since April. I really appreciate being back with these, and I will do these more often. I can't promise it'll be consistent because I'm a Pisces and I'm all over the place half the time. But I do have some forces in my life that have started to allow me to kind of herd my energy a little bit into one direction. So hopefully I will be a little bit more consistent with when and how I show up in the world. But wonderful. Thank you so much for showing up. If you want to check out hanksuttala.com, you can check out my website. It has everything that I do. I am doing a couple of, I will throw this out there. Yeah, I did this in the way that I'm doing these now too, is I have these pre-streams that I only stream to Facebook, and I kind of like talk to people a little bit. And then I start streaming to YouTube. So only the actual talk is on YouTube. So if you want to catch my pre-streams, you can go to the Sonic Shaman Facebook page and you can follow me there, and you'll get the notifications when I go live with those pre-streams. And then the YouTube streams are going to be a little bit after the fact. But I want to mention this one thing. I was inspired from one of my partners to learn tarot so that I would have a common dialogue with things. And I took to it like a fish out of water, or a fish to water. And I've been doing all kinds of, I did like 3 readings on the fly yesterday, and they all came out wonderfully. So I have a link that I posted in the comments on Facebook. But here's like a picture. Oh, it's in the other studio. I got to switch studios for this, I do believe. Or is it in this one? Let's see. Nope, it's not. Oh, here we go. So this is like a sample spread of how I do it. It's like a Kabbalah Tree of Life reading. So there's one card for the major arcana that's like the impulse of the soul that's looking to come through. There is the Earth card at the bottom, which is like how things are showing up right now and what change really needs to occur to actualize that soul impulse coming through. And then you have Swords and Wands, which is like the elemental parts that that break down the earth to bring about the future. And so what do you need to do in your life to bring the soul inspiration to actualization? So it starts as a 5-card spread, and then you can do an additional 5 cards for clarification. But that's just like one little example of how that works. And there is a link. I'm going to repost it since I didn't have this on the YouTube channel. So if you're watching this for a limited time, you can sign up. Here is the link again to sign up for a practice reading by donation. So my rule is you can't donate nothing. You must donate something because there needs to be an INI. And I would say that when you consider the donation, what would you need to donate in order to receive everything that I could contribute to you? And normally I charge $111 for a session. So keep that in mind. And I can't, thank you, Nanette, for this. The reading you created is so cool. Can't wait to get a reading. Yeah, this is something from one of the teachers that I'm studying from. So this isn't like a Hank original reading spread, but I really like it because when you look at this, it has the components in the Kabbalah is like the divine feminine, which is the circle and represent pleasure. And it's more about like, as humans, what did we do? We did what we needed to do to bring pleasure. And the soul's kind of doing that too. Like if you did nothing, you're still going through life kind of bouncing around, following the impulse of the soul. It just might be more muffled and it doesn't come through very clearly. But really in the terms of tarot, like we are all the Fool. We all have this driving force from within. We're going to get home, whether we like it or not, kicking and screaming. We're all going to end up in the same place back home. Because of that inner magic, because of that inner drive that's beyond this reality, it's going to happen. That being said, so like you have the circle part, which is the divine feminine, and then you have the line going down. Let me bring up the picture again so you can kind of see it. So you have the circle and the line. So the circle going around is the divine feminine. The line coming down is the divine masculine, kind of like the sperm and the egg, right? You have the Kausai Pacha, the field of living energy, which is the feminine manifestation of the entire universe. And you have the earth, which is like the more physical thing and whatnot. But you have like this field of all this creative potential. The divine masculine is the will and the structure in order to actualize that. So even in the shamanic tradition, here's my mesa, boom. You have the left side, which is the divine feminine. You have the right side, which is the divine masculine. You have the diagonal going down. And it's our job to kind of straddle this in the middle, like the point in the very middle of the mesa. That is where you are right now. You are on the cusp of being in both worlds, a foot in both worlds, right? And it's about learning how to, just like the magician card in the tarot, if you're familiar with it, the ability to reach into the upper world, reach into that field of living energy, that unlimited possibility, bring it down and put it into a container that actually that you actualize. So that is like kind of like that's why this has taken so. It just the Kabbalah and the tarot and getting into the book of Thoth and the Golden Dawn stuff. It has been the intersection of everything that I have ever learned. I could even do an I Ching reading based on a tarot spread. And that's like one of the first modalities I ever practiced. I also used to do runes way back in the day. That was my first divination tool. Then I went to I Ching, and then I just kind of go off the cuff and haven't used anything for readings for the longest time. And now I love like the way that these cards speak to me, and that they bring together everything I've studied from Alice Bailey, The Secret Doctor, and uh, crazy the Rishi's Metaphysical Institute. Then you have astrology. Everything has been rolled up into this one thing that has connected everything for me, and it's been a lot of fun. So I posted the link if you're interested. You can oh no, I didn't post the link, did I? Thank you, Hank. No, I didn't. mm, I was in the middle of typing and then I got distracted. Here's the link again to sign up for a practice reading. And I do have it on there. Just because you sign up doesn't mean you get a reading. Because if I go in there and there's like a suddenly like 100 people who signed up, I will not be able to get to everyone. Uh, but and there's already quite a few yesterday from my email list. But if you're interested in that, you can click there, sign up. It does have a waiver in there that you allow me to use for video promotion. I won't put your face in if you don't want it. If there's something that's super private that comes up in the reading, I'm not going to be like throwing that kind of stuff out there. We can edit the video, but things have been odd enough where it would be really great to be able to do those and have some of those experiences available for people to see of how I work and how the readings kind of unfold. I know Nanette yesterday, actually, I think you had already left, but I did like readings for 2 people yesterday just off the cuff, and I didn't even have to look up anything. So like it's all just really clicking. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. And now I'm rambling, so I'm gonna probably edit this part out for the YouTube channel. But thank you so much. Last call for any random questions or comments. I'll give like 1 minute. If there's a question, I will address anything there. If you do have a question, you might want to say, I have a question first and then finish typing it. Otherwise, I might cut off the stream before you get to actually asking the question. Let's see. I think there's one that I wanted to put up here. Power of possibilities. Here is, where is it? Oh, emergenceofbeing.com. If you want to see anything coming up at the center, this has all the practitioners. I like to call them contributors because we're not just practitioners. All of us have the idea that we want to help you just get better. It's not about healing is not always a cure. It's like, really, what can we do to help everyone appreciate life? Acronym for HEAL. Sometimes that's not necessarily a cure. Sometimes that could be as simple as helping you reframe one point of view that can change your whole life. Give you one example. My mantra was, self-pity and gratitude cannot coexist. That was my mantra for a year, and it totally changed my life. And that's the reason I stayed sober when I actually got dry. That was my mantra for a year until I actually got into the space where I actually wanted to work on myself, which took about a year. I was white knuckling it. But that mantra changed everything, because every time I found myself in self pity, I reframed it into a gratitude statement. So even one little thing like that from one of our contributors could just change your life forever. And you can find out about that on the website, about all the events. We have like a breath class coming up. I'm going to be teaching some access classes, some sound healing classes. It's going to be a lot of stuff coming up in the near future. So if you're watching this on a replay, check out and see what's currently going on. And no questions. So with that, thank you so much for being here, especially since I ghosted everyone like since April or whatever. My first live stream on my own since April. It's always been with someone else before that. And until next time, thank you so much. Please, please, please. I am inviting you to invite others to this content, and you can help spread the contagion of consciousness. And just be the invitation. Don't force someone for it, but just like, wow, I really got a lot out of this. Maybe you should check this out, and be a soft sell, because if you try to force someone to do something, one of the rules of duality is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. But if you can be the invitation and be the space, you're not pushing back anymore, and they fall into a new possibility. So what invitation could you be to help us change this reality? And everything doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, destroy it and create it. right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Until next time, thank you and stay aware.
Thanks for joining us today for the show. The Sonic Shaman is part of the Emergence of Being Contributor Network. Visit emergenceofbeing.com to learn about all the contributors and learn about our services and upcoming events. Please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. You can contribute to the show by supporting our efforts and sharing our content with those you care about and those who need it most.